We've been meaning to do this for a while. There are some chance encounters that you just have in life where you're like, this kind of feels like this was something that was supposed to happen. When I was in high school, I had a teacher that recommended that I read this book called The Omnivore's Dilemma by Michael Pollan, and I never read it. And then I never got around to reading it. But I saw that he put out a whole bunch of psychedelic books.
So now you're in.
Yeah, and then once I saw that teacher at my 10-year reunion, I was like, dude, you dabble? And he's like, well, did you read the book, Joe? And I was like, no, but I promise I will by the next time I see you. So I read this book. It was about regenerative ag. I wanted to get into the whole thing. Never really got a chance to try it out. Like, never got a chance to, like, get into, like, doing the farming thing on my own. But then I was sitting in a sauna at Squatch Fitness, and I met a dude that did it for a living. That was his whole thing, regenerative agriculture. And today, he is our guest on the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, Sean Pepe Meyers. Yeah. All right, man. I guess this is where we start. What is regenerative agriculture?
At base point, I think when you focus on a regenerative process, it's putting back more into your soil than you're taking out.
Mm-hmm.
We used to call it farming. Over the last 100 years, we've switched to a very synthetic and an industrial process to, one, increase our yields off small pieces of land, but it's caused this degradation that's kind of like hidden beneath our feet, which as of recently has become exposed because we've recognized our resources are finite and dwindling.
Yeah, like I was just over in Ireland, and my cousin is a cow farmer. And I was sort of explaining what you're doing on this farm tour. I was like trying to explain regenerative agriculture to an Irish dairy farmer. And I realized I was just describing a farm to her. Like, she did not know the difference.
And the easiest definition is even when you like centralize each position within farming, it ended up separating out the animal. So, I mean, you have baseline animal operations, or you have like your feed operation, which the two rarely interact or meet because it's more efficient. It's more efficient within an industrial model to only focus on one. So in Europe and other international ruralities, you're going to still find a reliance that's on the animal, lessening the inputs you have to bring onto the land.
So basically, like the dairy and cattle farming would be off on its own, would be its own thing. And then you have the feedlots growing corn, and that's thousands of miles from the dairy process.
Yeah, and I'm not too familiar with Irish dairy.
Yeah.
But imagine that they're on limited corn intake because the reason you're going to jazz them up with corn, specifically when they head to feedlot, is because you're just increasing the hanging weight and the sugars by so much more.
Well, they're on no corn at all because they just have space. So they just
we also have space in America.
Yeah, we're just using it insanely.
Corn.
Basically, like, you just drive around, and everywhere you go, you just see sheep and cows, and they're just standing out in these fields just crushing grass, having a great time.
Yeah.
And they seem like genuinely happy creatures.
They're having a good time.
When you go to a farm where, you know, the cow is in this tight stable and it's eating corn out of a feedlot and getting E. coli, it's sort of like a depressing thing.
Yeah, it's a bummer. And again, it's typically going to be quite rare that you as a consumer are walking through, in the sense of what's called a concentrated animal feed operation.
Mm-hmm.
I still think it's important for people to recognize just you try and not nay any food production because that's currently how we exist. So anytime that it's just like take away the corn in these situations, it's like, oh no, we just ran out of food. What happened? So it's like, how can we mitigate the damages created and try and influence for just some sort of compromise rather than having it cut and dry.
Yeah.
That's just me, though. I'm not here to yell at anyone.
No, I feel that. And I think one of the frustrating things when you read The Omnivore's Dilemma, they talk about the corn subsidies in the States where effectively, like, corn farmers are losing money or not making much money growing all this corn. And then there's excess of it. So a lot of it's just being converted into ethanol and high fructose corn syrup. And it just creates this model of agriculture that is not that profitable for the corn companies, and nobody really wants it. And it's just diminishing the topsoil in the state. So, like, how do you end up with a situation like that?
It's a bummer because I will say, I like America. I'm having a really good time.
Yeah.
I think that the more I even travel, I'm like, I want to go back.
This is an America First podcast, by the way. Any American slander will not be tolerated, dude.
Because like it's a really good time here. Just in your developing nations, what it looks like for your day-to-day life. And for folks here, that like, I get it, but I'm working 40 hours a week. Like, you still have an opportunity to change things, to create your own happiness. Mm-hmm. Changing our food system, I think, is just held on the consumer themselves. We just can't yell at big business anymore. And like, you can tell the folks who are eating poorly because they're biggins.
What do you mean? big fatties.
Yeah.
Do you actually mean that though? Because it's like, I think at the end of the day, the options are so limited in certain places. Like we've talked about this. There's a farm across the street from me called Boggy Creek Farm, yes, which is great.
First farm of Austin.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a badass place, and they're doing the full regenerative no-till farming. And we've both gone out there and volunteered and picked potatoes, and it's backbreaking work because they do not use tractors. You're doing everything by hand. But at the end of the day, when you go over there to get broccoli, it's $12 a pound. And so for like the end consumer, that's not like a realistic option.
When it's broken down to small veg and everything like that, but all right, so your pound of broccoli is $12. How much is your meal at McDonald's now?
Yeah.
Like, since COVID, unhealthy food has just become like the same price point. And no, buying locally from like your farm that you walk to with your 2 kids that you like homeschool because it's a single income household, yeah, that's your privilege. Yeah. But the difference of still being legume heavy or whatever the basis might be, like at your local grocery store, if God bless us, we have our HEB, like that's also fine. We don't eat real food anymore. So it's so much easier to satisfy for that market when you're converting corn into the majority of these food products. Like, that's how we make our caloric intake. And then people are way less stabby. More people die from overeating than undereating. And specifically in America, like when you put that into a thought process, it's like people keep complaining. They're like, oh, we're going to run out of food. I'm like, it doesn't look like it.
It's not looking good.
No. I mean, it just does not look like we're going to run out of food. You look at people like, who's run out of food? Him? No, not a chance.
He will not be running out of food anytime soon.
And people get really upset by it, but it's just like, it's very difficult to then justify your caloric intake when you sit in a chair all day. And by all means, sit in your chair. I don't want you to go in the field. I don't even want people to be farmers. It's terrible. Like, it's not a good time because there is such a limited community who can buy your resources. So then you kind of have to be in a high density city space that is like liberal leaning, or you have to run your own distro. You have to show up to the farmers market. Things just keep eating more and more into your time. And yes, there are some beautiful like market garden operations. Probably like top in the game is like Jean-Martin Fortier, but he's outside of Quebec.
What's he doing?
It's just the difference of between farming and gardening is probably just tractors. So what can you yield at max capacity off of like half an acre or a quarter acre solo to then justify just knowing your inputs for your conversion of money? It's so tight on margins, so it has to be followed to a dime, like a football playbook. Yeah. If you hope to clear black that year.
Well, yeah, like just the experience that I've had being back in Connecticut over the summers and just grinding, trying to grow vegetables in my own backyard. The process of going in and trying to plant like tomato plants and getting everything, getting the compost and the manure and everything in there and getting these plants going, it's great, and it's like deeply satisfying. But for a beginner, it's really hard to have the process be cheaper than it would be to just buy the vegetables 100%. At the grocery store.
You only listed half the game, so like, sure, get your tomatoes in. I'm really proud of you. And gardening and the experience with the plant, that's what you're going after. So let's say you chunder out like 300 pounds. Sick. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
Now you step into processing. Now it has to go into canning. Like, do you have a cellar? If you're equatorial for Texas and stuff, then you have to have a really tight acidity game, or like it's just going to bonk out and you're out of food after all your inputs. That's why we look at industrial operations. And there isn't one strategy that's going to all work for all different ecosystems, even within North America. So within like these questions and context, we should just talk about like what can be done for Austin, Texas. I'd imagine that's where a lot of our listenership is. And if not, I'm sorry. You're probably going to move here anyways.
Dude, so the speaking of Austin, the aquifer water situation, how bad is it?
The aquifer which feeds our Colorado or low Colorado?
Yeah, so my understanding is like all of the water that we use in Austin is pumped from the aquifer that we sit on top of, right? Or am I totally mistaken?
No. Water's hard. The aquifer which feeds into the Colorado River, it'll rain bunches. And people are like, all right, wet spring, hell yeah. And then you look at the totality level for Lake Travis and it's still at 38%.
Crazy.
So why is that? Because our aquifer doesn't run just like north-south into elevation. Ours specifically is going to go from the east to west, all the way to Fredericksburg. And so that's your Trinity aquifer, which is underneath. And we've just been paving over it for the last, intensively, like just 12, 15 years.
Yeah.
And in a recent time, you're starting to see a lot of like California wineries even move down to put in an operation, not to grow their own grapes, because I think like 90% of grapes grown in Texas are destroyed. They're not used for wine.
What do you mean?
That the majority of times when you drive by like a winery with grapes out front, that they're not going to go into use. It's just for show.
Really? So they just ship the grapes in from California and then just burn them?
And then burn these ones. Yeah. So, High Plains is big, but for the High Plains, because that's our largest cotton region, of which what makes twice the amount of money than beef in Texas? Cotton. We are cotton kings. We produce more like cotton per acreage, I think, than anywhere else in the world. And when they switched from glyphosate, the pesticide used since pretty much, I guess, like World War I or World War II. I ain't got the dates. And everyone can just Google things and just tell me I'm wrong as well. But they switched over to one called dicamba, and that highly affects like your wine grapes, and it's just frying them out. You deal with these cold weather drops. It is so hard. It is so hard doing wine in Texas, and God bless everyone who's trying. We have a few. William Chris is crushing out in Hill Country. A few others. But yeah, to look past the product and through ag.
Poor Brandon's trying to spell glyphosate. He's fucked.
All right.
I figured it out. I got the Canva down, and then it took me a while.
Yeah, I love looking at the molecule things and just like, hell yeah, I know what that means. But no.
Were you trying to find out when it was when it switched over?
No. That's been over recently. It's just that's what happened, and that's what fries out. Just that one little eco region of wine grapes. But so California, they've even just been operating like satellite wineries and events halls and stuff, because then so much of their public in California has moved here. They then have to have an operation to recapture.
Explain that. What do you mean recapture?
To recapture their purchase point. Because their audience had moved from California, where they operate, to Hill Country, Texas. So now they have to operate Hill Country operations and then distribution from there on site.
Wow.
And so there's so many people moving into this Hill Country area, and it does not have the watershed for it. Like it could, but the number one factor that's going to dictate the health of your prairie in America, which we exist within, is your native grass. So that's the only thing that has the rooting structure that's able to go down and increase your water infiltration rate. And to me, that's the number one metric that we should be following. Like, don't bring up climate change, whether there's the question of it's human controlled or if it's just by nature. It doesn't matter. We don't even have to agree on that. Let's just talk about the water infiltration rate of land that used to be a tall grass prairie, and then it was removed, paved over, and put in with just turf grass of Bermuda. Yeah, and all the water runs off. So
the Bermuda grass is the grass that you would see in just a traditional suburban yard.
Yeah, it's gonna be Bermuda or like.
And you were explaining this to me. This is not native to Texas at all.
It has zero root penetration.
And so, what kind of grass do you need to get in there for it to actually have penetration?
I think your power grasses. Damn, I've been out of the game for a minute. Little blue stem, I know for sure. Like that's your fan favorite. Eastern Gamma, Gramma, and there's another. But I mean, there's just a multitude of these grasses and different species. But we have no appreciation for it because it's not a tree. So like, I wish I could. Is Rick Moranis still in the game? Did he come back?
The actor?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's back.
He's back, right? Okay. So we need to get him on the pod.
What about him?
Because I need the Honey I Shrunk the Kids the device. Because I need
just to get people to understand the grasses.
To shrink them and put them into that space. Because I know when you look up and it's like a powerful prairie, it does look like a rainforest. They look like trees. These separations from your ground covering clover into your higher forbs and flowers and grasses. I mean, it makes like this jungle space. We're in the deep peak heat of summer. When you put your hand underneath, I mean, it's cool and it's wet.
And it's not the case for Bermuda grass at all.
No, it's nothing. Yeah, roll around it as much as you want. But
so that's one of the things that you're working on over at the farm is you're trying to remove the Bermuda grass.
Well, you can't. You try to in small situations, but you won't be able to remove it. You can only outcompete it. And that's difficult just seasons of where you're able to seed drill in if you're trying to do it no-till to allow for a species during seasons of rain to then grow up and then outcompete it. And this is just by
so that's
repetition.
A nutty thing to process is the grass that you see in people's yards is, despite it just being a decorative thing that people put in their yards, it is an invasive species that is causing the water to not seep into the grass and is therefore going to basically cause us to die of thirst in Texas.
We won't lose our potable water. Even like as things get tight, there will be very simple devices to be able to capture our night dew points to be able to satisfy your gallon of drinking water for a family of 5, whatever it might be. Like, that's not the problem. The problem is just we're seeing this desertification for our grazing lands, as well as irrigation we use for the majority of our conventional farming.
Yeah.
So right now, the price of beef is at an all-time high. And you talk to a lot of cattle ranchers, like they feel it's like teetering on the fence. This is potentially what it leads to. We're still years out, but that's the short future. Which again, this isn't to me climate change. You used to have a beautiful field, you've taken that away. You've replaced it with something that's so aggressively against what that ecosystem used to represent, and it doesn't work correctly.
So what is, like, on a small scale, the answer to the problem?
Ugh.
Like, how do you at least make it a dent, right? Because one of the things that a small aside, right? Like, there's the whole concept of, like, greenwashing, right? Which is a lot of people think that they are making a difference when they're buying organic process, and it's not actually organic stuff. But one thing that I was relieved to find out when I went over to Ireland was that Kerrygold butter. It says grass-fed on the package, and just because it's such a widely distributed and used product, I was like, well, there's not a fucking chance that's actually grass-fed butter. And they're like, oh no, the Irish standards of getting called something grass-fed and organic is so high that those cows are like legitimately living outside in a pasture all day.
Yeah.
Which for us to be in a situation where I look at that and be like, that's the gold standard. The way to achieve the gold standards is just have the cows living fucking outside eating what they're supposed to eat. Like, that should say everything you need to know about the situation.
But this cow is still a Eurasian species. I mean, it's not of America.
It's not native to Ireland either, yeah.
But that's a hop, skip, and a jump away. And, I mean, your Highland cattle are up there. And so I think they're definitely going to have variants. I mean, for us, we had our bison. So already we're at this different step that was supposed to work here originally. We aren't the lands of Europe, so upon the colonization, they bring over those tactics. And let's say some of them are successful and some of them aren't. But each time you're creating this difference of change, there is going to be a consequence to it. And it's like, no, I as far as for what's like the short fix, we're not even at the actionable state yet. We're still just at education and influence of two different sides that are screaming at each other.
Yeah.
And like that's why it's just like, man, we really got to chill out. At the end of the day, I don't think there's necessarily good news for the next 20 years. And how am I doing? I'm having a blast. I'm having a good time.
We got big tires on the
big
car,
monster truck tires,
and you got a farm, and you're bringing the boys out, and we're fucking slamming trees into the ground, dude.
It feels good.
Stone fruit, yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
Let's go.
We've dropped in 2,000 plus trees in this last few months, and yeah, and they look good.
I think one of the beautiful things about that is like, actually, when it comes to helping, right? People want to make a difference. Like I feel like a lot of people right now feel like disempowered, and they feel like they're living in this society where there's no way to make a difference and there's nothing that they can do. And that leads to just like complacency. And one of the beautiful things about like being in Austin and being friends with you is like, you're like, okay, you want to make a difference. You want regenerative ag to work. There's a couple things that we can do. You can come to my farm and we can plant trees. And then when you made that an option, how many people showed up? You had to turn people away.
Oh yeah, well, but it was even on the coldest day of the year. We were still like 20, 25 deep.
Coldest day of the year, you had to tell
morning.
people, hey, don't come out because we're full.
And these aren't farmers.
No.
These are people who were committed, who said they were going to do something and did. It was beautiful. I mean,
yeah.
Like, I was very impressed with how like Austin, Texas showed up for that. And yeah, it just melts my heart, because when we talk about what we want to do for the future, it's always like, what should I not do?
Yeah.
As opposed to just what actions can I create? And at the end of the day, I mean, that's even still a privilege, because you have the time, like you have weekends where you're not having to take care of your kids.
Yeah.
That there's a smaller audience that's able to put in those aspects. Which is why the only concept I see to be successful, which will have to begin at a federal level most likely, is regenerative agriculture is fantastic to be able to grow food for higher nutrient density and resurrect this family farm. But for a larger system, I just see ecosystem restoration. Mm-hmm. You aren't yielding a product. You are just improving these lands. So for the huge stretch from pretty much Barden Springs Pool out to Fredericksburg wineries, how many pieces of public or private land are you able to enter onto to convert those overgrazed lands that have just been wrought out? It's nothing but a limestone graveyard. Mm-hmm. Being able to work for the decent amount of time and intention it takes to restore that back into its native prairie, and to be paid to do it. The job creation that comes out of that, the satisfaction, yeah, and then you are buck wild in the woods. I mean, this is like having a fleet of trailers that weird people are living in, and they're just breeding. Yeah. What else is there to do when you're just planting grass? And when you get those numbers up, we ain't making babies no more.
Yeah. Dude, the dream is a sweet thing, bro. Getting out there and actually making something happen is, I don't know. I think like when it comes to actually federally doing something, we were talking earlier about how it's not necessarily climate change. I think like a great example of this is the topsoil crisis in Middle America. Like, where do you even start with that? I think you'd do a better job explaining the problem there than I would.
Yeah, where do you start? The history books.
Yeah.
The Dust Bowl. We did it before.
I just read The Grapes of Wrath, so the Dust Bowl is very present in my mind. Right?
Audiobooks. Read it to me like a baby.
Read it to me.
Oh, no, I do a lot of baby shit. I took a hot bath before this. Because like what do you call bath salts that aren't drugs?
Bath salts.
Yeah. It's just hard to ask for them at like HEB.
Yeah. All right, topsoil. What's going on with that?
Okay.
Brandon's pulling up bath salts.
Trying to see if there was another name for it. Yeah, it's bubble bath and salts is like seems like the easy way, or Epsom salt. But that
Epsom salt baths.
And one of them Epsom fellers is the cannabis leaf. So that's what I go with, and it's really nice seeing that in Texas. But it's like like the cannabis like sativa infused, and because I mean both my rotator cuffs are torn at this point, so the bath salts helps more than anything else. Just mainlining.
All right, tell me about the topsoil. Tell me about the topsoil, you fucker.
Okay.
All right.
So yeah, we've been here before, the Dust Bowl, the 1920s, and that's right. I'm back. So you go out, and what do you see? Like That's what you have to just start calling these broads. Just call them flappers, because they're just around. They're just having such a good time when a lot of people around them are actually not having a good time.
What do you mean flappers?
That was so in the Roaring 20s, that's going on. Some people are having a blast.
Yeah.
And others are in the Great Depression and they don't even know it yet. It's a few years into it. There's like, oh, I guess this does suck.
Yeah.
But the one aspect that we've been ignoring that follows right after is the Dust Bowl. It's processed from over-tilling, and it blows away in the wind. But specifically with your lack of soil aggregate always having roots in the soil, the simple rule where you want 100% soil coverage 100% of the time. And when you're working annual crops, you just make sure at the point of harvest something else is seeded. So, I mean, in Canada, they have programs to actually pay their farmers to install their cover crop. And I think they would compensate them for the first 2 years to just to switch to this. Do not perform 3 yields, perform 2, and then 1 is a cover crop, and we will pay you for the 2 years to do this. And I think they had like a 40% adoption rate. So even though they're Canadians, you would think they would be on for it. It's still reality. Their numbers are a lot better than us. I mean, the Canadian agriculture specifically in their breadbasket, that they're not.
So we don't do any cover crops. We grow corn and then just leave it.
We do corn, wheat, soy. And
brutal.
And again, the best way to be able to run your cover crop even for the majority are going to be a legume based. Even clover is a legume. We think of it as beans and peas, but it's actually going to be the nodules they make underneath the soil, these little white balls. And before the bean or pea is developed on the plant, that's when you want to be able to flail mow it in or just crimp it by pushing it over to kill and break the crop. So then the nitrogen that was captured from the atmosphere is directly placed back into that soil, feeding the next annual crop that you seed in without the use of synthetic applied fertilizers. Especially because without that rooting aggregate, all of that synthetic fertilizer, if you catch a bad rain, is going to roll into your water systems. So for all our toxic algae blooms and everything that happen in the Colorado River, that's all the synthetic fertilizers, whether it's from conventional farming or just residential landscaping. That's what's rolling into our waterways. Bummer.
Insane. And so like the invention of fertilizer created some double yield in the population worldwide, right?
Oh, I mean, you're and I don't have the number on this specifically, but yeah, I mean, from synthetic fertilizers, I think your yield is going up 300% just per acre. How are you supposed to be able to fight it against that? And sure, we'll deal with the consequences down the line. And it's more it's the nitrogen in it is so high. Like when I'm gardening, like the fertilizer I'll put down, it might be like 1.52 of, and it's NPK. So N, nitrogen, P.
Per kilogram or something?
Yeah, it's percentage. Oh, God, don't make me say
whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
But what's it?
Maybe it does matter.
P, potassium, and then K, just because you can't have 2 Ps, phosphorus. That's the majority of our fertilizers, but they're all going to be so nitrogen heavy in these highly conventional practices. It just burns out everything else. It's not the natural place because we have removed the animal from it. And you have to, because it's so much easier. And this is how daddy farmed, this is how granddaddy farmed, but before then it was a natural space.
Yeah.
So how do we get back to healing our topsoil? A lot of this land can't even necessarily yield again. So that's where you farm it to its point of just like absolution, and you just hope someone buys it to put a highway through or a Buc-ee's on it. It won't be touched again. If you can create an incentive for the landowner to receive some sort of mailbox money, based on their water infiltration rate, their carbon capture, biodiversity count, just some of these metrics, and just trial it. And even within that trial, we're still talking about billions of dollars. Some of this was available in the Infrastructure Act, but
really,
yeah.
Is there any politician that's like actively campaigning on doing stuff like this?
Yeah, probably.
But neither one of the major presidential candidates is talking about this at all, right?
It pops up some.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we're like, we open the door and like, what's the first thing you gotta talk about? Like abortion.
Yeah.
And then after that, I guess Israel, and then Iraq probably still on the table. There's so many things that have to go through politically before you get to farming because no one cares about it.
Yeah. Nobody gives a fuck.
Because just why? Food is so readily available anywhere. Like it's and that's why
It seems that people just want to drive down the cost of their groceries too. Like that's the number one priority at the moment.
Save money and time. So when the idea is like what you're trying to tell people is to garden, or even just to go shop at the farmers market. Yeah, it's
not happening.
It's Whole Foods Market. It's 11.4% of the American public, average age 28 to 34, white women with kids. Like I think that's it. It's just, of course you're going to the farmers market. You're having a great time.
Yeah.
I think that's not what's going to be able to be replicated for like the American public.
So what is like a viable solution for the American public?
I don't think we chase food anymore because we're just not going to care about it. Chase nature, just support that. Birds.
Pepe, you got to give us some silver lining here, babe. Come on.
How are birds not a silver lining?
Birds. Is the bird? Is it a silver swallow or something?
No, it's just like birds are tight.
Birds are tight. I agree. Brandon, pull up a picture of a bird, please.
Ooh, if we can, let's go with night heron. Because I saw
ancient condor.
Yo, these aren't even American birds. This is terrible garbage.
You know what, dude? Don't you fucking talk shit about these birds.
Those ones, not even.
We're trying.
I don't even like coolest either. Oh no! You can go down. He's in there. Give me that. And that's our cedar waxwing. Damn it. Yeah, he's a little bit fatter. I want to see the silver. There we go. Yes, scissor-tailed flycatcher. So those are out there right now. It's beautiful. So the end of its tail makes a little counterweight. So as it's in just a drift, it uses it to slow down the pull of the wind so it can match like the pest and everything it's going after.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude.
So back about that silver lining, you asshole. Birds.
Okay. Hold on, I wrote down some questions that I would like to ask you. So I'm gonna ask.
All right, we're just bypassing birds.
Dude, birds are gay. Deal with it.
They are. They are. And that's just fine.
All right.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Bunting, sick.
Yeah,
let's talk about greenwashing.
Okay.
What is greenwashing? I know this is like a pretty. I feel like I'm coming at you hostilely with these questions. I'm excited about hearing about how the libs are doing greenwashing and being dumbasses.
Shit. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you don't. There's just money.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I can make more money of going through this emotional directory that people now are applying themselves to, without without an ability to follow up on it at all.
So that's a great way of putting it. It's an emotional reaction.
Yeah, I mean, that's selling. You're always going through an emotion. So now it's the concept of your purchase of this product helps the planet.
So greenwashing, basically, they realize that to greenwash, you realize that there is a consumer out there that is going to respond very strongly to the idea that they are helping the planet.
Through their purchase and consumption.
Do the purchase and consumption of this good. So what you do is rather than create something that actually helps the planet.
But again, there is no creation. You're trying to help, so just don't consume. Like if you're trying to help, fast. Don't eat for a day. How is that better than buying like some green donut?
I don't know, dude. I'm trying to deadlift heavyweight, so
that's fine. But I mean, another privilege. But you have to understand,
deadlifting heavyweight is my privilege
to be able to eat for it,
dude. It is my privilege to deadlift 355.
Hell yeah, big boy,
dude. Hell yeah. I lied. I did 325.
But we're shooting for it.
We're
and
getting
I
there.
am proud of you.
Thank you. Have you seen how strong I'm getting, dude?
Strong.
Looks good, dude. Pull up a picture of me with my shirt off. Just kidding.
No, but
Dude.
but that's what we were saying. Like,
Don't do that, Brandon. Don't stop it.
So that's where the lie is initially exposed. It's like you're being told, like, the good boy, good girl, because of this purchase you're helping. That's a really dangerous slide. Like you and try and move forward a campaign of like consume less, where there's nothing in the culture of the Western world of fasting.
Yeah,
And I swear that's the most powerful concept you can introduce like into your life. Once a year,
Fasting.
no calories for 4 days.
4 days.
Yeah.
Really?
What do you think will happen?
Perish. I would perish.
Die. Just die.
I would perish.
My lips go down.
Have you seen how thin I am right now, dude? I cannot do 4 days.
You
of not
can
eating.
go 2 weeks.
No way.
You can go 2 weeks.
How much weight do you lose on 4 days of fasting?
Like 3 pounds.
Really?
Yes.
Is it muscle or fat?
Mostly fat, a little bit of muscle. So no, I'm not asking you to not eat food for the year. So,
Dude, it's a heavy
Yeah, it
ass.
says like here it says
how'd I do?
may lose up to 2 pounds. So you're right around there, 2 to 3 pounds is
Yeah.
what most are saying.
smart. And like, and then of that, your muscle mass, it drops out. It makes you appreciate food. You see what the body can operate. You figure out how to breathe through rough times. And like, has even 50% of America gone through 18 hours like without caloric intake? And how upset and cranky do people get when they don't get like their snacks?
Yeah. 18 hours is not that bad. You just forget to eat breakfast and lunch one day.
I know, but
Don't
I'm
eat
saying
till
a
dinner.
lot of people like their life falls apart.
Yeah. Just get crazy.
So like, yeah, what can we do to make the biggest difference? Nothing.
Stop drinking hazy IPAs. Stop drinking.
I asked for soda water.
You know you didn't. That's a lie. Lie, you liar.
Rude.
Dude. Okay. Let's keep going. So the concept of greenwashing, like how did that get introduced? Like what was the who is it going after? Is it picking on Whole Foods in particular?
No, I mean, in Whole Foods is fine.
Is it though?
Once again, I have no problem with those who make food and distribute it, and especially from where they began on and where they're at now. I don't necessarily know. I mean, I'm an HEB slut.
Yeah, dude.
I love them. That's my go-to. I think it's the greatest grocery store in the chain in the world. And then Central Market, just for those days you're feeling elevated.
Central Market is owned and operated by HEB though.
Yeah, there's 400. Are you telling me? Like you're informing me?
No, I'm letting the people know, dude.
Yeah, there's 420.
Pepe, I want you to know that at Central Market is owned and operated by Herbert E.
Butts.
Businessman.
Butts. Come on, bud.
Herbert E. Butts.
Yeah. Yeah, there's 420 HEBs. There's 9 Central Markets. They haven't been able to step into DFW. There was a handshake deal, I believe, with Butts and either Kroger or Walmart that they would operate in separate districts. But,
Really?
But now HEB is starting to, move through. There's none in El Paso because that's going to be in a separate time zone, and the distribution's too far. Come at me with HEB. Seriously.
Okay, dude. We fucking love HEB.
Okay, all right, move on. Greenwashing is difficult. No, I don't know when it started. Like it just goes into the concept of PR, and you're always going after emotion. The first person to step into eco, I would say, would be Jimmy Carter. Al Gore is then when it starts to take off, and then from that period, we've just been elevated further into people's emotions, typically liberal and urban, wanting to offset their carbon footprint, whatever it might be, by mitigating their purchase point into things that make that are green and friendly and make you feel good.
I think you're getting dangerously close to Stanhope territory right now.
It is. That's why I'm like, you put me on greenwash territory.
There is a Doug Stanhope bit where he's like, the joke is basically if you want to be an environmentalist, kill yourself. And you're like, because that's the best thing that you can do. And don't have kids. But we got to populate. Are you going to populate, you think?
Not at this rate.
No?
Oh, my numbers look bad.
What do you mean?
I'm at 0.
0 kids?
0 kids.
Well, we could knock up old John over there. Dude. Get him going.
And yeah, I mean, it is the answer to skip a generation of kids and then find ourselves into a financial collapse because now our retirement class is
unfunded,
is exceeding our birthing class. It's like that has a consequence too, and then we can adopt some of like the 100 million refugees from sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia. I don't know. There's options, man. But
you can't just take the kids. I
bet
your mom and dad have to stay. Here.
Yeah, I think that's totally a thing.
We want your 2-year-old. You're fucking staying. Have fun in Palestine.
We'll send you postcards.
Have fun.
I don't have the answer. Because it keeps getting larger. Where it went from greenwashing to Palestine really quick.
Yeah.
Where
greenwash Palestine. Put an HEB in over there.
I mean, honestly, yeah. But the question is always just like, what can I do? How can I change all this? Like, you can't.
Yeah.
So just how can I start in my neighborhood, my city? Mm-hmm. Just find something you can make better. And that's why I tapped out. I'm like, birds.
Dude, you didn't tap out. You did the opposite of tap out. You started working on the largest regenerative ag project in Texas. That's not tapping out, dumbass. That's going all in.
But I did shift to, because you look at, we just put in 2,000.
Just tell me about what you're doing. We'll start there, I guess. No, don't tell me about what you're doing. Tell me about the trees and the birds.
Okay.
And the gay sex.
Yeah, rather than trying to make an institution where how do I grow the most amount of food with the least inputs to distribute to folk and feed them and get into schools, that's great, and I want to work on that. But right now, I'm just trying to satisfy nature. Yeah, that was my initial calling to move to Texas, of just holding on to as many species of life as you can. Like you take away their environment, they're not having a good time, so then we just have to rebuild it. And if there isn't really good news for the next 20 years, what a fun practice to be a part of.
Yeah.
And I would just like to see more funding that's available on the table to make this like widely available.
Do you think it's like an issue that in Texas it's mostly private land? And
97% privately owned is Texas, more than any other state in America. We also are home to the largest state park. So that's probably to make up 1.4% is just Big Bend.
Nuts.
So we're looking at just a very small amount of the parks that we can visit as humans, as well as the rest that has gone through degradation through poor management of cattle and fire reduction. So like, actually, I got the fire department called on me last night. Again, that's twice in 2 weeks.
Really? What happened?
Pallets.
You were burning pallets?
Yes.
Sick.
I know.
Were you hammered?
No. No, I still, like, there's just a lot of pallets I got to burn.
Yeah.
And then like, oh, there's glue and nails. I'm like, sure. There's a lot.
Whatever, dude.
I know. They were good and everything. Like, they're very sweet. They are apologizing they had to put it out. But the reason a lot of our land has degraded is because we prevent it from burning. A lot of this land was supposed to burn every 50 to 120 years.
We don't let it do that.
We don't let it do it.
Because it's dangerous. So do we just need like large swaths of land that are not populated by human beings, basically?
And you can even send them through as long as they're there. And we'll practice controlled burns in some of these parks. But yeah, it is spooky. Like, you get a lot of trouble. One gust of wind, it just takes that over. You have lost control. Yeah. Because, the buffer lines you have to cut out to make it safe make it difficult to all just light up at once. But yeah, and we saw it. We saw it happen just in the last months. There was a private landowner in Texas who their land is worth millions that developers are going after, and they donated it to become a public park.
I heard they donated it, but I also heard they sold it to the state of Texas for $75 million.
That checks out. Yeah. So then they'll go into a conservancy trust.
So basically,
dude, why they keep baiting us? Just tell me the truth in the headline.
So I went pretty deep on this. The only reason I know this, No, Texas. Get out the number 75. I think it's like if you look up Texas land donation, it should come up. It was basically I had heard that someone donated it, which is amazing. And then you get into it. Yeah, this is it. Maybe I'm just being cynical.
No, it's not cynical. This is they could have made way more money. These are funds that probably pulled from tax dollars to do this specifically, and great. I was even going to say, like, yeah, wild if you were just going to donate your land and you just like forego your entire generational wealth.
Yeah,
but that seems to be like one of the only manners that we could see this spread, and that's why if you and it's difficult. It's difficult to incentivize the landowner to make more money, like off their land for doing good things.
Yeah, Travis County donate shares to enable a reduced purchase price of $90 million
instead of 130. So they gave him a nice $40 million discount, which is a lot, but it's still like, oh, boo hoo, you sold it for $90 million. Like,
they're gonna have statues.
Yeah,
that's such a catch.
So what is that? That's greenwashing.
Yeah, we donated it. I like that in the title it says that they donated the land
and that is
to the state of Texas.
And that's not the worst headline I've seen.
The Scott family makes largest land value donation in Texas County history, and they got $90 million on it. This is fucking crazy. So literally they're going, and you have to scroll down to the bottom to find out that they actually made $90 million on the deal. So
it even right here it says that their donation was more than $30 million in land. So it's like they're saying that the discount of like $40 million is what
is the donation.
It's all it makes it seem like they just gave them $30 million of land when essentially they still made them pay $90 million.
and what's that's met with? I don't know how generational this is. Okay, yeah, purchased in 1970.
Regardless, in terms of best use cases for that land, this is probably the best case scenario of what could have happened.
But we're talking about something that's like making headlines and stuff.
But it's intentionally misleading on the headlines for sure.
And this is, I guess it was like 1,500 acres. We're talking about I think it's for America. We need to restore like 30 million. I mean,
30 million acres.
Yeah.
And how do you does that mean? Okay, because I was thinking about this the other day, right? And you know how a lot of uber wealthy people like your Warren Buffetts, your Bill Gates of the world have just decided, okay, I'm worth this much money. I'm going to donate all of this when I die, right? And they go, I'm going to donate it back. But a lot of it gets wrapped up because it's publicly traded stock is a lot of their net worth, and you can't just sell it all immediately.
Yeah, it's not liquid assets.
So they go, we're going to sell it at a rate of like 5% a year, basically, which is just effectively just maintenance and upkeep on that stock. So the money doesn't get in the hands of the people that need it. And like, is it sort of the same situation with donating land where there's these like uber rich people? Is that why? Okay, let's just ask this question. This is a better question. People say Bill Gates is buying up farmland in the States. Is that actually true?
Yes.
Okay, why?
Bill Gates is the largest farmland owner in America.
Why do you think he's doing it?
Because he was he's the majority investor for he's Beyond or Impossible. I forget which plant-based alternative, which we're still just looking at like conventional soybean growth, which not good. Is it better than like your CAFO burger and everything? Like sure, but it's still an ugly system. We keep looking to these alternatives to feed people for high density centers. I mean, I was just down in Lockhart. Their hydroponic lettuce farm shut down like 6 months ago. That's after like 40 million got pumped into it or something. 1 million square feet of like lettuce. And then people are like, I don't really like lettuce. And to all billions of dollars to dump in these systems, and you see it go poof. Where the best food system we had in Central Texas was Johnson's backyard garden. Like, I'm pretty sure the tractors are still even there. So from when you see all these millions of dollars, just support that farm. Give it like the same like federal subsidy you see in the corn, wheat, soy. Not to mention, I mean the insurance you can't get for most fruiting and veg crop. No, I mean it's so difficult to tell people what to do because as you're seeing, We're being
People don't like to be told what to do.
and it's done in a manner of the headline we just saw, which it's not. It's just it's not honest. People don't have the time to figure out what makes the most for them. So the easiest thing you can do is figure out how to put yourself out in the world and just make something just a little bit better. Volunteer for cleanups and be fully selfish about it. Explain to yourself, I'm doing this so I feel better as a human being, and it betters my mental health.
Yeah. Just like that's the minimum that you can do. It's just get
Just the
involved in
minimum,
some sort
just
of local level.
something proactive. When it steps in consumption and different farming practices, it just becomes so convoluted, and you just piss off people. So like, I mean,
So if you're like trying to operate at a small scale, like let's say you live in New York City, right? And you're in New York and you're listening to this, or you read Omnivore's Dilemma, and you're like, all right, I want to try to help in some like basic way, try to convert my life and like do something some practice that I can do on a day-to-day basis that's going to improve the situation. What is that? Is it buy the grass-fed beef instead of the regular stuff?
and that helps because a lot of times we're asking, what can we do specifically as a consumer? I'm in a metropolis. I have rooftop gardens and little community gardens at the school that I can go help with, but that's not making the difference. Yeah, I mean, I don't have much for you. Put up a bat house. Just become a bat guy. There's one species you could attach to. There's some form of life you can bring into your city. Like put a potted plant on your balcony.
Yeah.
Just some more life that you are introducing into this world, which each species is going to have a counterpart. It's calling a bird or a butterfly, or even if it's just for your neighbor to look at and smile. But golly, because we all rent, we all live in apartments. It's like, I'm out. There's nothing I can do.
I think I could get a couple trees in my backyard without my landlord noticing. Which one should I get? Are there any that I can get for free?
Yeah. You can get free trees through Tree Folks. I also have 400 trees. Come slice yourself off too right now.
Okay, sick.
But yeah, look for your Texas natives. Low growth, low water. I like my golden ball lead tree, red buds. Yeah, I mean, just go for small. Don't drop in an oak. Put in something that's going to flower for you and make you happy. Just start by introducing as much life as you can in your footprint.
Yeah, before my bungalow gets knocked down and turned into an apartment complex.
And just in bulldoze, and it's all gone, and your tree's gone.
I think that is one point of silver lining in Austin right now, though, is that the overbuilding of apartment complexes has gotten to the point where no one's going to start introducing new condo complex concepts into the city because they just overbuilt so much downtown or in East Austin that like the growth has outpaced the population growth, and in fact the population growth is decreasing.
I know, but they'll never stop building. And again, we can yell at apartment complexes as much as we want. When you can localize like 600 people into 8 acres or whatever it might be, how would that work if they were spread amongst just single family homes, not doing jack shit in their yards? Which like drive through a lot of these communities, specifically once you displace the previous Hispanic families, they were gardening, they were putting in trees. But then you see the Hawaiites, they come in through nothing. Even though I'm xeriscaping, like, no, just give me a tree. Like, spend some time and garden. And that's your uber privilege. Back to just the consumer and stuff. Start where you can. One pot, one plant. I don't care if it's in your home or on your balcony. Just start caring more about the nature around you as it's being displaced.
Sick. That's it. I think that's a good note to end on.
Damn, because I want to end on a positive note, but there isn't one.
Give me something, you fuck. Come on.
I can't, dude. My goats have scours right now.
Oh, what's that?
Big shits, Joe. Like that's not good.
Yeah.
A
scour?
What?
Scour just means they're taking big dumps?
Yeah, like it's bad. Diarrhea. Yep.
There's some positive. Blue Jays are sick as
Yo, yeah, look at that, dude.
Yeah.
No, they're actually terrible birds. They're very aggressive. They go into other
Dude,
nests.
shut up.
I know. I know.
Blue Jays for us, dude.
There's not much good news, dude. Sea turtles aren't even. There's no boys anymore.
Trans sea turtles.
No, it's just dudes just having a good time, like all 8 of them.
Really?
Yeah, there's only 1% born male sea turtles. The water's too warm to develop like the chromosome.
Shit, man, dude. My chromosomes aren't fucking developing either. Fucked. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah, sorry. I got if I would have slept better and my goats were.
Do you sleep deprived right now? Are the goats fucking you up?
Yeah. You try living with goats in your house and
I'm not going to.
it's not bad.
That's your way of trying though. That's your way of introducing life into the world.
Yeah.
Are they native?
Goats?
Yeah.
Not these ones.
Fuck them then, dude. Kill them all. Goat fry. Introduce native species and deep fry the goats.
Yeah, I'm working for bison, but that's another time. All right, positive note. I am hopeful. I am hopeful that we are going to make the correct movements. We are a resilient species, and we adapt quickly. We're seeing changes being made now. It'll take place, I think, over the next 20 years, which we may end up knowing as the time of restoration, where we will see a change of finances and power. I truly believe this for no other reason than we have to, and we do that. We adapt and evolve. So I'm hopeful that things get better, but I think that's after going through 20 years of dog shit.
Well, so just for these 20 years, I think we just buy some acres, get some ATVs, ride it out.
Oh, I'm good.
All right. Well, I'll be a comic. You can have your desert, and we'll fucking just kidding. Not your desert, your farm. Your farm's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I would say support it, but we can't say what it is.
Nope.
So time to let Luke too, man. ETA 112. Beautiful. We're done. That's it. We did it. Good job. That was fun.